Oh, bloody hell. This movie is a bloody hell. So I'll just write this as a piece of stream of consciousness. I love the cannibal genre. I really do. I've explained this before in one or two previous videos, but I love the symbolic charade that is the modern world interacting with the so-called primitive world. It says so much about the world that produced these films. Cannibal Holocaust has been praised as an exciting, provocative piece of sophisticated, classy social commentary, but also, especially over the last 5 or so years, so it appears to me, derided as a hypocritical, gross film that embodies everything it is trying to critique about Western media. I think those that really worship Cannibal Holocaust uniquely, amongst cannibal or exploitation cinema in general, are doing so in a real bourgeois, posh and polished, Marina Abramovich sort of way, maybe. I don't buy it. Some social climbing gits decided it was a subversive, edgy, opinions-on-the-shelf masterpiece, and other people who you would think would never revere a film which contains animal murder, exploitation of cast members, rather blatant racism, and utterly chock full of sleaze, decided that they wanted to tell people that they do. Ooh, people think this of me. Ooh. Pathetic. Really just disgusting. Cannibal Holocaust is not my favourite cannibal film, although it may have been the first with as serious as intellectual intentions as it had. I do suspect that Deodato's previous Jungle Holocaust contained the typical inherent intellectualizing, if you will, which belongs to every film produced in that particular bracket. But also, being the original model of the genre, unless we count Lenzi's earlier 1972 picture Man from the Deep River, it pioneered that initial idea, that imaginary scenario of brutal anthropological encounters. Deodato did intend to make some commentary on the manner in which the Italian media had depicted the Red Brigade terrorism throughout the 1970s, although many might argue that this was rendered worthless by Deodato himself staging his scenes via cruel manipulation and abusive behaviour towards his cast and crew, as well as the local peoples and environment of his shooting locations. Truly, if anything, is symbolically fascist about the existence of Cannibal Holocaust. It was its director's behavior on set, right? Now, Cannibal Holocaust, I think, still succeeds, as I think all of the other cannibal films do, and in the way in which those films, I feel, does. I probably prefer the previous Jungle Holocaust, as it lacks the slightly to outright annoying pretensions of Cannibal Holocaust. Deodato certainly tried to make a better film than Jungle Holocaust in Cannibal Holocaust. He employed the very able cinematographer Sergio De Uffizi, best utilised by the great Lucio Fulci for Don't Torture a Duckling from 1972, and it features the glorious music of Riz Ortolani. Deodato believed he was directing a worthwhile, important film, to be sure, and a superior production to Jungle Holocaust, because, well, it is a superior production. Whether it's a superior film, I'd really have to consider that. I'd certainly want to view Jungle Holocaust again, make a video on it in order to determine that. Because what we see in Cannibal Holocaust, I think, is very impressive as a piece of photography, particularly. It's quite extraordinary and just extremely impressive. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. Is anyone else going to deny that? I don't know. I think Deodato, certainly according to those who were around him when shooting Cannibal Holocaust, is a man who is interested in the deeply pathological, hidden, strong impulses which polite society tries to hide away. His other major film around this time, The House at the Edge of the Park, is a perverse celebration of the fact that The Last House on the Left was released and opened the floodgates for films such as this to exist. I have discussed 3 other films by Deodato on this program. 1964's Hercules Prisoner of Evil was credited predominantly to Antonio Margheriti, although I have read that Deodato directed much of the film whilst Margheriti was finishing up work on The Fall of Rome, also previously discussed on FOTD. I also have a video for 1983's Raiders of Atlantis, a delightfully pulpy post-Indiana Jones sneer, which I really very much liked. Go check it out. 2016's Ballad in Blood was a very early FOTD. The fact that 3 or so people have chosen to like that video is bewildering to me, but thoroughly welcomed all the same. I would be tempted to rank Cannibal Holocaust below the other films of the cannibal boom, frankly, mostly because of its bullshit pretensions. I mean, it is one thing to be a cannibal film and to commit all of the typical ethical crimes that are associated with a cannibal film production, but another to claim that you or your film is trying to denounce a crime which itself is callously, vainly committing. Removing all of this film's context, and I am vaguely in awe of it. I really don't like the animal murders. One could argue that most cannibal films merely filmed predators or the local natives killing animals as opposed to slaughtering them themselves. It will always asterisk any praise I have for the film. I don't really have any more I'd like to share about Cannibal Holocaust. I am generally on board with it, although I'm fairly perturbed by how certain people I have heard discuss it over the years.